Welcome back, guys, to another episode of Collectible Conversations. I think we're, at a dozen? Or a baker's dozen? Or are we at 12? 12 or 13?
No, baker's dozen 13.
We're at 12.
Right?
Yeah, but I wasn't sure. Do you remember?
That's just a regular dozen, dude.
That's just a regular dozen. Check in next time for a baker's dozen. What's going on, Squeaks? How you doing?
There won't be a next time. That was my limit right there. We're done. I'm out of here. I'm calling it. All right. No, things are going well. I took a day off of the tube this past day. Wait, what's today? Today would be Sunday when you guys are seeing this. Yeah, so it would have been the past day. I took a day off of the tube and focused on just getting some of the more administrative stuff done for the business that I need to get done. I've got 2 sales tax filing reports to do. I've got 2 annual entity reports to do. I've got all kinds of stuff to do. And then obviously start on taxes and everything like that. And so I just needed to get some of that stuff like all out of the way, off the plate, so I can focus on everything else. But otherwise, things are good. Sales really seem to be picking up a lot. And oh man, I just thought of something we have to talk about today.
Yes.
We have to talk about.
Do you want to talk about first or second?
I don't know why I didn't think of this before. Guys, we've been in a call for like an hour. And I did not think of this, but I'll bring it up later. Anyways, but yes. Huh?
Ooh. I'm excited now because I don't know what it is.
Yeah. But
Okay.
but yeah, otherwise things are going well. How about you?
Pretty good. I had my very first live Q&A on Friday.
I was there.
You were there. And that's how we figured out the topic that we're going to kind of discuss today. So that went really well, though. You know, I had over 100 concurrent viewers about the whole time until I started showing off my Dragon Ball Z and Naruto collection and the people started to leave. But other than that, it was incredible. So, you know, really
Wait, you're saying if I just hold up a box, I can just kill our viewership by like 50%?
I think
right
so.
there?
Yeah, gone.
Nice.
And yeah, everyone just stopped watching. Our watch time just dived. So yeah, that was a lot of fun. A lot of great conversation going on in chat. Really healthy, positive, positive conversation happening. And it was fun interacting with people more, answering their questions, doing a lot of that. So
positive.
yeah, I think that's a PokeRev thing. Positivity.
Oh, really?
I believe so.
I'm unfortunately not.
You're out of the loop.
In the inner circle, yeah.
You're not in the Poke Cave? Yeah.
Hey, no, actually, I'm aware of what the Poke Cave is. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Well, I've used that hashtag on Instagram once or twice.
Gotta get the likes. So you know, he's not using it. Might as well.
Wait, really?
I don't know. He probably. If he's not, he should be.
I was gonna say I suspect he is.
Yeah.
But yeah. So in your live stream, you answered people's questions, did everything, but you had a specific question. What do you remember the exact question that led to your answer that I was not happy with?
Oh gosh. Yeah, the specific question was, do you think Pokemon cares about the secondary market? Was that the right question?
And what did you say? What'd you say?
My initial response was no. And then you chimed in for the first time in chat. Somebody commented.
Second time? Come on, give me credit.
Sorry, it was just, you know, I'm so popular. There's so many, you know, comments flowing through. I just missed it. But
right.
somebody commented and disagreed with me, I think, and you did the little up arrow. I love that little up arrow comment that people do. I think it's hilarious because it's like,
yeah,
it's instead of liking it or just saying like, yes, I agree with you. It's
well, because you can't like it, right? When it's like going through chat, so you just put the little up arrow and you're like, yeah, I'm with that guy,
right.
You know?
But in Discord though, especially where you can do like any emoji possible, but people still do that.
Do
I love it. So that's one of my favorite things to do.
Yeah.
And then as soon as you did that, I was like, okay, whoa. You're taking my no too literally. I haven't dived into what I actually think here yet. Let me explain myself. And I had a very tough time explaining myself, as I normally do. I'm not the most well thought out, well spoken with my thought. There's some sort of connection from my brain to my mouth that just does not get everything out the right way. So, so my answer is no, but that was me okay, let's see if I can do this now. I probably can't even do this now. I did not prepare for this.
While you think of it first, let's give a little context. So when we
Okay.
refer to the secondary market, and does Pokemon care? Pokemon being, the big ol' entity, the Pokemon Company International, do they care about the secondary market? Meaning the market that exists after they have already gotten their product to distributors, distributors get it to stores, and stores then therefore sell it to customers, and customers sell it to each other, and it goes up on eBay or wherever, right? I was gonna say Pinterest, but I don't think you can even sell on Pinterest. I don't know why that popped in my head, but but yeah, essentially wherever things get sold, right? Craigslist, Walmart, wherever. Do they care about that secondary market? Does Pokemon actually care that Shining Fates ETB go to $200? Do they care that graded cards, you can take a $3 card and make it a $40 card? Do they care about any of this? And you said no.
Yeah, I said no. And to me, the context that I was taking out of that question, right, was that the person asking thought that Pokemon wants to see their prices go up and up and up and up. But for me, the answer is Pokemon cares about the secondary market in a way that they want to keep the price down and available to their masses, to their customers, keep it at that retail price point. That's what I try to explain that I really couldn't. Does that make sense?
So what you're saying is that you think Pokemon's goal, or the degree of which they care, is only to try to keep things towards MSRP.
Yes. To the degree that they care, I can talk. To the degree that they care is that, yes, that's what I believe.
I cannot agree with you.
Why not?
Okay. I'm going to do this in segmented thoughts and give you a chance to respond so that we don't have me just talk for 30 minutes at one time. I'm going to try. This is going to be the best effort I've ever had at not doing a 30-minute monologue. But so your first initial point about them honing in on MSRP, I don't even necessarily disagree with that point. I think MSRP exists for a reason. I think that is their target price that they want things to move towards. But my first counter argument to that would automatically be them releasing limited release or specialty products in short demand, right? So they have a product come out, they put it out at, whatever, whether it goes directly from the Pokemon Center MSRP or through distributors to stores or whatever, and then they sell it at MSRP. But they put it a really hot item that they know everyone's going to want, and then that's it, just limited. And you have to know that when you do something like that, that the secondary market, when you don't release enough supply to meet the demand of it, is going to take off. Would you not agree?
So companies like Pokemon do a lot of market research, a lot of price research, understanding the demographic of their buyers. And for the cards specifically, and for many other card companies, I believe they take all the information that they can from one another to understand, my headset's going to die, to understand at what price point are these people who are buying the cards willing to pay for their products. So that's the price point that they want to hit. And that's the price point they want to...
But clearly people are willing to pay more for the products.
I think we're just...
They do it on the secondary market all the time.
Is it all the time, though? Or is it just now?
Well, I mean, no. Look at... We have 25 years of history in this game that shows that people are willing to pay more on certain products because of availability. Like, this has existed forever, right? I remember when Generations packs in 2016 were going bonkers right at the start because you couldn't get any out of distributors.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because the people that ordered early, like, got in on it because we didn't have a set list, right? It wasn't coming straight from Japan. And so we didn't have a set list. So most stores were like very hesitant. They're like, oh, we're going to have all year to order these pin boxes. We just won't go in early. And then when it came out, everyone wanted them. And I remember Mew and Celebi boxes, like, out the gate were well above MSRP. And you just, like, could not get them. Now, whether that's like a reflection of Pokemon specifically, not necessarily, but like there are like we could literally do these examples like going way back, and I just don't know that you can say that Pokemon like doesn't understand the fact that like that's almost like saying they don't believe the secondary market exists, right?
Right.
Like to say that they're not gonna release something that they know they're doing it in short supply that's gonna create massive demand is gonna clear shelves off. And like, because if your goal is to always keep it towards MSRP, you would continually release enough of it until it like equalized at that point, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna change my battery while I speak here, if I can get this off. But Pokemon
Just
prints
change
to
your
demand,
battery.
and their demand comes from distributors. The distributors' demand comes from stores, comes from LGS's big box stores. Their demand comes from the customer base. So when the customer base, like for Generations, is not excited about it at first, and all these stores are listening to their customers talk about upcoming sets and what they kind of plan on doing, they'll either order or not order as much or more before, right? And that just climbs the ladder all the way up to Pokemon's boardrooms of how much are we going to print of this set. So I think we look at this aftermath, this afterthought, the hindsight of these cards and the availability of them, more so than looking at what Pokemon is actually doing as a company of trying to guesstimate how much of this product they need to put on the shelves to meet their customer demand. I just think, we can't really talk about today because today is just so, it's an anomaly with all card industries, right?
So let's not use today.
Yeah.
So let's go back. 2017, or was it 2016?
Evolutions?
No, Roaring Skies.
Okay.
So Evolutions was out, but Roaring Skies reprint came in 2017.
Yes.
And so those booster boxes were right around $500. And Roaring Skies had only been out a little over a year. It was because Roaring Skies came out as would have been the May set of 2015, because that's when I started the business, was March. And so that was my like first set, like main set release. And so that's when Roaring Skies came out. Then it got reprinted either in 2016 or 17. I don't remember which, but they were like $500 a box. But prior to that, Pokemon had never done anything like that. They had never like taken a main set that was out of print. And this is like one of the discrepancies is I made a video on like distributor, like how everything works at a distributor, like going from Pokemon to the end consumer. And one of the things I talk about is like out of print versus out of stock. And out of print is like the dagger, like it is done, definitive. And Roaring Skies was that. Like they had been told by Pokemon, this is out of print. We are not making this anymore. This is what you have. Oh, my alarm's going off. This is when we were supposed to start the podcast. But here, I'll shut it off so you guys don't have two alarms, because I always set two. Always set two because you won't respond to the first one when you're asleep. But anyways, so they this is what makes us great though, right?
Yeah,
something
authentic.
like that. Maybe that's what we tell ourselves anyways. But so that like they had not done that. Out of print, done. And then they said, whoa, boxes, $500 a piece. Let's bring them back. And they brought them back, which I would say lends to your point, right? That idea of let's bring it back to MSRP. But there's 2 points there. One, they had never done it before. So why did they start caring then? Right? If your goal is always bring it back to MSRP or try to align that, there would have been an ample amount of opportunity prior to that to have done that, or to not even have that philosophy at all, right? Like, the reason so many of us remember Roaring Skies box reprint is because it blew us away, because it wasn't something that had ever happened before.
Mhm.
And in fact, it even blew distributors away, and most of them were charging more for booster boxes what they normally charge, to almost like cash in on it, because they knew the secondary market was hyped up.
Mm.
And so, like, while that does kind of lend to your point, I question, like, if that's your goal, what happened in that time period that led to that shift? And to me, that says, oh, we're not as much about MSRP or alignment of MSRP as, man, the secondary market says, damn, we really want this product and we're willing to pay an insane amount for it. And we could just go print it and print more dollars for ourselves. So to me, that screams we're far less about like wanting to align at MSRP for our consumer base, and more about we want to make more money.
Yeah.
Like, they're effectively just doing the same thing that the secondary market is doing, which is capitalizing on hype.
Right. And
The other thing, oh, go ahead. Go
yeah,
ahead. I'll let you
I'm
respond to that, and then I'll do the next one.
yeah, I'm really looking like just the way I am depicting that question when it popped in my head was like, does Pokemon really care about the specific price that is happening in the secondary market? Whether their boxes were $500 or $200, there's room there, there's demand there for more boxes as that continues to grow. So yeah, I guess Pokemon paying attention to that is a clear indicator of just straight market demand for them.
So I think I think I hear where you're coming from. I think maybe you just didn't word it well. It sounds like to me what you're trying to say is more that Pokemon is always attempting to meet market demand, which inherently then should move the needle closer to MSRP.
Yes.
Not that their goal is to get every product to MSRP, but that is more of like a reciprocal effect of attempting to meet market demand.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. I think this is like one of those topics for me that's rough for like a podcast, like a live format like this, because these are the ones that, obviously we're having a dialogue, but I hate just like shooting an off the cuff answer to something like that. Like, I love breaking it down in my head so I can make sure I'm saying exactly what I want to say in response.
Mm-hmm.
And so there may be a few instances where I just like think for a second. So please bear with me. But I don't necessarily disagree with you to a certain extent,
Mm.
but I think there's like a problem with that. And I think that problem is that there's plenty of products they don't do that with, like special delivery Pikachu. There's very clearly a market demand for that card still. There's no change in sight that card is coming back. There is no change in sight. We can like Hidden Fate still has market demand. There's no anything in sight that they're going to do reprint 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I'm not convinced that they are attempting to meet market demand. I look at Roaring Skies, and it was a twofold for them. One, there's demand we can capitalize on and make money. And two, our competitive play right now is in a really bad boat, because this is like the one dynamic that I think, especially right now, a lot of people are forgetting about, is that there is a whole underlying game to all of this. And while the competitive market is not what drives a lot of the sales in Pokemon, it does bring a lot of exposure for Pokemon. And when I say exposure, you've got to think not just the tournaments and everything, but your local league at every hobby shop, which then all those people talk to their friends or the people they trade with, or what. Like, it's like that spiderweb ripple effect. And Roaring Skies presented a really troublesome issue where pretty much every deck in that meta had cards from that set in it.
Shaymin EX.
But they were all Yeah, Shaman EX, Mega Rayquaza, Mega Turbo, like all of these cards that were starting to really gain a lot of value and go up high in price. You also on the collector side, for when I say like Mega Rayquaza Dragon, for a lot of people, like the Dragon one, a lot of people like don't think of that as like a collector card. That was the hottest selling card on Amazon for almost 3 years in a row, like during Christmas time.
Wow.
And so, there was a point where those were getting to like 80 to $100 a piece at Christmas. There you go, by the way, sleeper. If anyone's out there and you just want like sleeper mode, there's a lot of money to be made on Amazon during Christmas. But like Mega Rayquaza, I mean, like you're talking a card that was $30 on TCG Player that was $100 on Amazon during Christmas. And it was selling like top seller rank, like breaking in top 100 for toys and games, which is just unheard of for single trading cards that are not Ancient Mew. And so to me, they were in this conundrum of our collector market suffering, our competitive market suffering. And so now we're losing out on potential market reach because we're far more likely that people are going to lose interest than if people have availability of the product and we bring the prices down some. So I agree that like adding in more supply is always going to head you more towards like MSRP, right? But I'm not even like fully convinced that their motive was like, there's demand here and we just want to fill it, right? Beyond making money. I think this is going to cause a negative reciprocal effect in these areas over here. And so we're going to reprint this to stem that effect. If competitive play was fine or the collector market was fine, I'm not convinced that they wouldn't have just printed something else. I think it's like, at least to me, and I don't think this is a bad thing, right? I mean, a lot of times people assume that when you talk about like corporate interests or like them doing what like looks out for them, that's like talking down on the company. I think what makes Pokemon so successful is that they're very good at looking out for their own interests while masking it as for the better of the people.
Yeah.
Right. You hear all those car dealerships like, for the people. I don't know if you have that in your area, but every time I drive somewhere and I like have the radio on, there's like this dude that owns a car dealership in my city. And he's like, my name is blah, blah, blah. And I'm for the people. And it reminds me of a video every time that Rudy has where he talks about how nobody in business is for the people, like period. Like anyone that tells you that is just like lying to you. And that's like the most like snake oil salesman like line that you can have.
Our car commercials are, we're smashing prices, and they're literally taking sledgehammers to like car windows. So
for the people. And like that to me is what makes them great though. They're able to do what they need to do for themselves and have it come off as for the people without telling you we're for the people, right? And that's why people think so highly of them, and they should, because they're still like doing well, right? And doing well for like all of us, whether you're in it for the money or you're in it for the hobby. Like Pokemon does a lot of great things in the world, but when I look at that, and it just, to me, I'm not convinced Roaring Skies would have ever came back unless it fulfilled a lot of self-interest for Pokemon, right? Because there are just so many other things I could pinpoint throughout history of this game that they would bring back if they were like, if their number one interest was like, what does the community want, right? And I'm just not fully convinced. And I know right now we've got printer shortages, or that's the narrative that's being written by everyone, is that getting things through the printer is impossible to do. Maybe that's the case. Right. It's tough to discern how much of that is like a story that justifies things versus like what is actually happening. But I mean, even if you like take us out of the 2020, 2021 segment and even just go back, there's so many times where people wanted product of a set or of a release and could not get it. And they had an opportunity to put it more out, but beyond just like people being happy, it didn't really fulfill anything.
I don't remember any of that. Again, I haven't been around as long as you have, and especially in Modern, I haven't been as in tune with it as you have. But Shining Legends was probably one of the first hype sets that came out during my Modern era of Pokemon, and people were interested in it, but it was always available.
Yeah.
Evolutions was loved by many and hated by a lot as well, but that was always available. Um, it really only, from what I can remember now, it really only started with Hidden Fates, and I was there for the Roaring Skies era. Side note, I think a cool conversation could be, are playable cards from back in the day going to be nice collector pieces or investment vehicles moving forward? Um, but that Roaring Skies thing was, yeah, it was solved with that reprint, and it left a lot of people salty for those that were holding on the product and those that had
Yeah.
invested in the product. So that's kind of the stigma that I get when I hear that comment or that question. It's usually negative. So that's how I really portrayed this question. And I think most people, again, this is just making assumptions, but it's based off of all the information and people that I've talked to about it, is that reprints is just a pretty negative term for those that are a business that have, that are taking that risk to build a position in an item, or they're the ones trying to get it off their shelves. And then Pokemon, for whatever reason, decides to reprint, and it hurts those people. So there's just this conflicting argument about, is a reprint good or bad? And I just think in the world that we're living in today, especially, like, everyone is pretty greedy, and they either want the reprints for themselves, or they want the reprints for nobody. And
Yeah. So, go ahead.
yeah,
Finish.
and Pokemon, to me, they're just, yeah, they care about the secondary market. They don't care about us individually, our secondary. They don't care about us making money off of this stuff. They care about us getting the product and enjoying it.
Okay, that I agree with.
Yeah.
Pokemon does not have any goal of making other people more money outside of maybe their brick and mortar stores and distributors that effectively support the supply chain of their game.
Right.
But when it comes to like end consumer buying a box, breaking it apart, whatever, like I think they always try to provide enough inherent value to give people incentive to open product, but I don't think they ever have the goal of providing so much inherent value that it makes you money.
Right.
And when they do, it's very strategic and targeted, almost like specialty sets, right? It's kind of like the what WotC did with Magic in the Masters sets, Modern Masters, Eternal Masters, etc., where they released these effectively specialty products that were going to be loaded with value, to where the stores could make money as almost like a thank you of like, hey, thanks for carrying our product. We know some of these sets are a little rocky, or some of them are not, whatever. And this will help you get by until the next one, right? And I think Pokemon took up a very similar model, specialty sets, right? Generation, Shining Legends, Dragon's Majesty, Hidden Fate, Shining Fates, blah, blah, the list goes on. They're going to continue to do it. One thing I want to know is, you had said back when people think about like Roaring Skies, it's, in reprint, it's kind of negative. Well, part of it's negative is because it didn't stop at Roaring Skies. Then it went, Ancient Origins and Primal Clash, which were two other sets that, you could sit and say that, had competitive viability, but in some regards they did, right? Primal Clash had like Dieball and Rough Seas, things like that. Ancient Origins was far more lacking. And they reprinted them anyways. And that to me was more of a, we're cashing in on the hype that existed from 2016, and the fact that these prices, like when we printed these originally, demand was here, and now demand is here, and we want to cash in on that. So the whole like masking of like, this is to help the community, to help the competitive player, to get access to Shaman and whatever for Roaring Skies, that narrative kind of fell off with these other two sets, because like nobody out there was cracking Primal Clash boxes to get Rough Season anyways, especially when you printed Ray Keldeo decks that also had those in them.
Right. And they cashed out on that, and it was left on the shelves for a long time at Target, at Walmart, at your local stores.
Yes, very much so. I mean, and those boxes plummeted. For the longest time, you could not get the $90 a box for Roaring Skies. That's kind of like the accepted market value, right? Because MSRP is kind of like an irrelevant thing on booster boxes. And you couldn't get it out of it. You know, Primal Clash or Ancient Origins was the same way for a little while. Those recovered quicker. You know, Ancient Origins specifically, mainly because of the secret rare megas. But those sets, to me, kind of debunked the whole like for the people. And when you say that like people interpret reprint as negative, I think this is like a great moment to really differentiate the different pillars of the community. And this is a video that I've actually already started filming, but I'm working on it because I want it to be like really good, is the breakdown of the pillars of the community. Reprints are not a negative thing. For Pokemon, they make them a lot of money. For the collector, it makes accessibility higher. And for stores, it gives them more product and inventory to put out to the customer. The only people that don't like reprints are your investors and your flippers, which are two still very valuable, important pillars of the community that have to be respected. And I know a lot of people out there just heard me say you got to respect flippers, and they are just losing it. Well, calm down. I promise you, in that video I'm going to make, I will break it down for you. But you do. You need all of these pillars to work in tandem with kind of the ground floor being Pokemon themselves, right? And so when you say that they're negative, I think it depends on who you ask, right? To you, where this is a business for you and you know, float very heavily on the investing side, yes, a reprint is almost wholeheartedly going to be seen as a negative thing.
I don't invest in modern. I like reprints. I just want to get that out there.
Okay, well, fair. But for most investors, right? For probably the people in your inner circle, the people you talk to, do business with on a daily basis. You know, for me, whereas like I am, you know, call it my distributor, order product, you know, weekly, monthly, whatever, and sell it to customers, nothing would make me more delighted right now than to be able to hear that I can go buy more Hidden Fates, more XY Evolutions, Unbroken Bonds, Team Up, Unified Minds, Cosmic Eclipse. And like, I just want Cosmic Eclipse for me. I need to make that video because I think that is just one of the biggest sleeper, most underrated. Okay, I
just bought a ETB, and I got a case of Primal Clash ETBs.
Of Cosmic? Oh, Primal Clash. Wow, those are old. Tiger Groudon. Who's on the Cosmic Eclipse one?
It's white. It's got Arceus. It's not.
Oh, that could be.
Yeah. It's not Gen 1 or Gen 2.
It could be. Arceus was like the biggest Pokemon in Arceus ADP is what it's called. Arceus Dialga-Palkia.
We just got
like
one.
The big card of that set.
Yeah, we just got one Cosmic Eclipse, but.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Yeah.
Well, anyways, that's a huge tangent of the whole point. But, you know, as like a store, I'd love it. As collectors out there that don't want to pay $74 for a character rare Pikachu when you got 4 per box, you know, and Pikachu was not a difficult card to pull. It was generally like 1 per 2 boxes. You know, they don't want to pay almost the equivalent of a booster box price. You know, it's what, $90 for a booster box? They don't want to pay that price for one singular card that didn't even have that high of a pull rate. The problem was when it came out, it had a shorter print run. Its demand was not as high, which is crazy if you look at what's in that set in hindsight. But, you know, people want it to come back. But right now, the incentive really isn't there, right? Why go back and reprint for Pokemon this set Cosmic Eclipse that's going to have demand, but probably not as much demand as your newest, hottest, right off the press set, Shining Fates, that people haven't even gotten their hands, and you can't get enough of that out yet. So I agree, like, if the community's goals, the community being, you know, the 3 pillars, the collector, the flipper, and the investor, if their needs can be met through a decision Pokemon makes, I definitely feel like that helps steer their decision in that direction. But at the end of the day, they are going to capitalize on like whatever makes them the most money, because the reality is it's in their best interest to do so. And this is kind of where I like wanted to lead this point forward, is relating this to Magic. I know we're not like we do collectibles and everything. Neither you nor I really do Magic heavily. I've, you know, flipped it before, but Magic, you know, I think this is a debate a lot of people were having in Magic back in like 2016, 2017, maybe even 2018, where, the Masters sets. I think the first one, Modern Masters, probably came out in like 2012, 2013.
13,
And
15, 17. Yeah. Or did
there,
they did it
yeah,
every
it was
12?
like a
Yeah, every
really
2 years.
big deal.
I love 17.
Really big. I remember I bought packs.
I bought
because like
5 cases of Modern Master 17 and sold singles. I was just ripping through packs because it was so much fun. You could make
Yeah.
money on almost every box selling singles. Loved that set. Loved it.
So, and that's what the community wanted. Community wanted accessibility to cards. Magic could make a killing off it. Stores could make a killing off it. That's what they wanted. The problem was, if you look at how time has played out, and obviously hindsight's 2020, and they kept doing master sets, and then, they went the next step with collector boxes and all that kind of stuff. I almost think one of the biggest mistakes WotC made was they put what the community wanted on too high of a pillar versus how can we make money, but also where does the success of our game lie long term? Like they looked at like a very like tunnel vision, like short term perspective. Magic's in a really dire strait right now. Yes, we just saw the record Alpha Lotus sale, etc. Well, guess what? Alpha Lotuses aren't coming out in booster packs on your Walmart shelves next week. Like for competitive Magic, for which we can get into the whole pandemic and how that affects too, but we don't need to. But like the whole is Magic as a whole is not very interesting right now as a collector. It never really has been, but as a player, as a flipper, as an investor, anything that's not like that reserve list isn't interesting because it's been printed so many times. It's so accessible. There's not a lot of money in it. The amount of surge in popularity of actual fresh new blood that's never been engaged in the hobby would need to be so high to pull those prices up that it's just not realistic versus just pivoting and going to something else like Pokemon or video games or sports cards or whatever. And I think the reality was they were in a fantastic position to like slow bleed a little of that stuff into the community and kind of keep people hungry for it while keeping prices high. And instead they just like instead of like opening the gate a little bit and letting it like slow stream out, they just like let the whole dam through. They just took the dam down and just like let the water
one
go.
of Magic's main pillars is players. Now you didn't say that for Pokemon because it really isn't. But with Magic, it is. And you said that perfectly. They just let the floodgates open, right? And they took down that player pillar and tried to stack it up with a collector pillar. And that hurt them very, very badly.
Well, and the thing to note is like even on the player pillar, right? Part of what makes building decks and playing the game and everything fun, part of what makes trading cards as a whole fun is the chase. When you take out the chase out of things, it removes a lot of what makes it interesting or exciting. When you open a booster pack and you pull a card, it's exciting to hit something that one, you don't have, but two, that most other people don't have. Even if maybe the value isn't that high. It's just about like accessibility. So the fact that then you can rip a pack and you can hit a Tarmogoyf, a Blood Moon, all this stuff that before was perceived as like very difficult to get and like almost gave you a sense of accomplishment for getting it, that was gone. So it's one of those things that like that's what your community says they want. But then the second they have it, they realize they didn't really want that.
Yep.
It's like how I'd love if, Bandai just started printing Naruto again tomorrow and printed alternate art so I could get a whole set. But then the second that I had a whole set and everyone else had a whole set, I wouldn't care about them anymore because they're not difficult to get now. Like they're not one of 20s anymore, and I'm like part of like this exclusive club that has a few. It takes away the mystique of it. It's like right now, let's take Special Delivery Pikachu. That's a hot card. Everyone's talking about it. If they put that back up on the Pokemon Center and they just open the floodgates and you can get as much as you want, how many people are actually going to care about that card anymore? You'll still have your subset of collectors. You'll still have those people that really do enjoy that card, that art, love Pikachu, love, whatever. But 90% of the people out there that are talking about it, dealing in it, making videos on it, doing whatever, would not give two shits about Special Delivery Pikachu if they open the floodgates on it.
Yeah.
And that's like part of like that whole thing that you can't really quantify until you start doing it, like the opening the floodgates, and like where's the level of like how much we can put out before people begin to quit caring. There's so many card games out there that are retired. I like to call them retired instead of dead because people tend to still collect them and play them and stuff, but retired card games out there that a lot of the reason people don't like them or don't participate in them at all is because there's nothing to chase. It's just everywhere. Like Mega Man TCG is the one I always think of. You can literally just buy infinite amount of that product. But like Naruto for me is fun. One, because I like the IP and the brand, but it's also like there's a chase to it. It's hard, right? And the best real world example I can think of this is Force of Will TCG when that came out. The first 3 sets were impossible to find, difficult to get. When you did get some of it, you felt one almost just accomplished for finding it, but it felt good to play it. But then they did set 4, and set 4 was more widely available. They printed enough to the demand, and that was fine. It made it accessible for people to play. The barrier of entry to getting in was lower, et cetera, et cetera. But the problem was then they took it a step further, and within the construction of the set, they had 3 rarities of like the exact same cards. So they had like the high end, like embossed ones, and then they had like the foil ones, and then they just had like a common of, like a non-hollow of the hollows. So you could open a box and virtually build playsets of everything for like $30. Like it was just out there everywhere. And nobody cared about it. Sure, you had your high end people that wanted like the best of the best foiled out versions,
decks,
but most people, the accessibility, the chase was gone. You just rip a box and you have it all. And that like there's a lot of things that really hurt that card game, but that definitively was like the pillar. I carried Force of Will as a store. I ripped set 4, like we got it in. I was maybe 6 boxes in, and I remember telling my wife, this is it. This is going to be a bust right here. Like she remembers that this is back when we used to live at a house that we called the Crap Shack, if that tells you guys how much we roughed it. And we were sitting on the floor because we didn't have furniture, and we're ripping these boxes open, sorting the cards and everything. And I remember exactly where we were sitting the moment I realized this game is going to die. Because it hasn't died. It's like still like carrying on, but it's like maybe 100th of what it was at the time. And I remember because there's no chase here. There's no nothing to keep me enamored with like always wanting to progress, right? People love progression. Look at the way video games have evolved. Now look at like Skyrim. You've got like 800 million quests, 5,000 achievements, daily whatever, like because people want progression. People don't just want your Mario anymore, some do. I know I'm going to get flack for this, but where you just run your left to right, play the level, beat the game, and you're done. People always want a sense of progression, a gear grind, the treadmill, and the same thing reciprocates to cards. And I know, so here I am on a giant monologue again, but
let me stop.
Like,
finish up.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, what I mean, that's a perfect segue into, is this going to happen with Pokemon Snap 25th anniversary? If we get that Neo reprint set, are we going to feel that way about Neo? What's going to happen? We had it with Evolutions. We loved it. It stays stagnant for 4 years. Now people love it again because of the value tied to it. If with all this hype and expectation and assumption that this is going to happen, will that kill all of the excitement? Will that ruin what the 25th anniversary is or should be? Or is just Pokemon on a completely different level?
So it's tough because Evolutions as a set is like one of those things that at any point in time that you like take a timeline and just pick a point, you can get a completely different community reaction to that set.
Yeah.
When that set first came out, there were people coming back to the hobby in droves just to chase a taste of that nostalgia they had as a kid. Most of the people that were opening back, like back then, dude, that holiday season, you could not make value in a box. You could rip Mega Charizard full art, both Charizards in packs, and a plethora of other stuff and not make your $90 back on a box. Like, period. And yet people kept opening it because it was more about the experience than it was the actual cards themselves. Kind of like breaking, right? People that are breakers, they charge more than what you could just go generally buy it for yourself and open it. But people like the experience. They like the feeling of like the person shouting their name out and like everyone sitting there watching the opening. Like that's what it was like. It was more about the experience than the tangible item itself. The reason that changed over time is because a lot of those people, once they got that experience, they left. That's why we saw that drop off 2017, 18, 19. So they got that experience. So the ones of us that remained because we were here because we loved Pokemon, we had already had it. We were over it. And yet they kept pumping it out. They kept showing it to us more and more and more. And we're pretty much like, hey, Pokemon, we're done. We're finished with it. Stop, please stop. And that's literally how it felt. Like, dude, I literally remember every time Poke Beach would announce a collection box coming out. And I knew before I would open the screenshot, there would be an Evolutions pack and probably a Crimson Invasion pack in it once that set came out. And sure enough, there we were again. Like, there are very few things that I complain about that Pokemon does, but the amount of times they reprinted Evolutions packs, Crimson Invasion packs, and Tyranno in this hobby are like the top 3 like most annoying things I've encountered. But then now you look at today, Evolution skyrocketing again. Well, why is that? Because there's a ton of people now in the hobby that did not experience that the first time it came out. They didn't experience the just pack of evolutions and literally everything ever printed. They have none of that.
Yeah.
To them, this is fresh, new thing. Holy cow. I never heard about that in 2016, but here I am now in the hobby because Logan Paul brought me here or Gary Vee or whoever. And now they're here and they say, well, I want to open that. That looks like it'd be fun. Except now it's not in print anymore. And so now, like, as booster boxes, I'm sure it's still going to end up in a collection box eventually. But now it's, here we go, right back up the hill again. And so to me, it really depends how they would do a set like that. It really depends on, do they do enough that's short supply, whatever, for this year? And then they start putting a pack of it in every set forever moving forward. And everyone, like, as those people fade away, because it's going to happen. This peak popularity is not going to stay forever. Everyone always thinks it will. It won't. Eventually it will wane, right? People will get interested in other things. Hopefully pandemic eventually ends. People start finding other hobbies that they loved before that they can do again, et cetera, et cetera. And when that dip happens, I think it really will then come down to, one, do they beat it to death because there is a financial incentive for them to do so? And 2, do we ever have another wave of popularity again that brings in blood that didn't experience it the first time that would want to relive it again? That's why I think so many people, almost regardless of what's going to be in this set, are going to go into it like Evolutions, because they're going to see Evolutions and they're going to see the like fall off that it had, and then just the meteoric rise that everyone pretty much just said like can't happen.
Yeah.
And if that can do it, then anything can do it, right? It's like that confirmation bias. And so I think you are going to see people go into this set like no freaking other.
Yeah.
And
well, that's what people are doing with Shining Fates, thinking that it is 25th anniversary set, right? I mean, I don't think people realize still that that's not the 25th anniversary set. That's just another set.
Correct.
And because there's just not information out there about it yet, or really to the general public. I mean, we know where it is. We've seen the leaks of information. So yeah, it'll be interesting if it'll continue.
It will be. And I think the biggest question there is, can there ever be another uptick that like pulls people in like this? Like we had 2016 Pokemon Go came out. A lot of people want to say that Pokemon Go didn't cause anything. Pokemon Go brought awareness back to Pokemon. People. Let's just leave it at that. People.
I don't believe it.
Pokemon Go brought awareness back to Pokemon.
So much.
Which then therefore trickled out into other things. That growth came. I would say now the growth we're experiencing is largely attributed to media influencers.
Yes.
That reach is even more catastrophic and long lasting than what, the Pokemon Go reach was, which is why the growth we've experienced is even so much higher than what that was.
Mm-hmm.
What is the next step? Like, is there a next step? Can you get more exposed than what Pokemon is right now in terms of exposure?
Wall Street bets Pokemon.
Is that it? Is that the answer? Is like, there's a video I made where I like make a joke where I'm like calling Elon Musk to put Pokemon on the side of a rocket. Like, is that our next step? Like, it's got to be just something so outlandish, so crazy. Like
Dogecoin,
I don't
Pokecoin.
know that we could ever encapsulate this amount of hype and focus again.
People were saying that same thing in 2016.
Correct. And I'm not dismissing it can happen.
We just can't think of what that is.
What it would be, exactly. And so that's one of those questions you have to ask yourself in terms of like, I know we've kind of pivoted on, does Pokemon care about the secondary market to more like investing, buying a set, whatever. But like, you have to ask yourself when you go into something like this, what caused the thing you're basing it on, right? Because a lot of people are going to compare that set to evolutions. A lot of people are comparing Shining Fates to Hidden Fates, et cetera, et cetera.
Mm-hmm.
When you compare these, though, you've got to like figure out where the variables are different. And one of the differences for this 25th anniversary set is that it's coming off of the back of a media influencer boom,
mm-hmm.
whereas Evolutions came off the back of like a Pokemon Go boom. Can some other boom happen that then another set could ride on the back of that would then, in the immediate, people would go in that one, but pull this one up coming up?
Yeah.
And I don't know what the answer is. And maybe you won't need that, right? Maybe it'll just be short supplied. Maybe they'll just not print enough of it for current demand. And so and then that's it. And it'll forever go into perpetuity as one of the shortest printed sets Pokemon's ever done.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Are we thinking of this wrong? Could the 25th anniversary set, I know we're already getting the half set with Shining Fates, but could the 25th anniversary set follow Generations footsteps and just be another half set and not be an Evolutions? Or are we going to get both?
It's possible. See, this is the thing. Like, this is what's so dangerous compared to Evolutions. When Evolutions came out, before they announced anything, we didn't really know that the last set of the year was going to be like this callback to base.
Yeah.
We didn't know that was like the plan of it. To us, it was just the fourth set of the year, November set,
mm-hmm.
right? And whereas now they've kind of like came out and said,
Evolutions 2.0.
Pokebeach did, but that this is going to be a thing. And so now it's like one of those you went into with no expectation and just got fully rewarded. And now people are going into it with just the highest expectations. Like, I'm very nervous that it does not matter what they do for this set, that they're just not going to be able to meet expectations. Like, and a great example are those jumbo cards that they're doing, where they're doing like the starters from all the regions, and they've got like the base set art for those.
Neogen and EX
if that would have been
Sandstorm.
in 2018, even as jumbos, people would have loved it. I think people would have been Hype Train City or 2016, whatever.
Yeah.
But now it's people's expectations of what's coming in 25th anniversary are so high that most of what I heard was like, this is not what I wanted. I do not like this. I am very disappointed. And so I kind of question if expectation is going to dictate how great the 25th anniversary is for most people versus the actual products themselves.
Yeah. I stopped watching movie trailers because it's ruined movies for me. I set expectations after I watched movie trailers, and I would go into a movie thinking I'd love it because of the trailer and just get extremely disappointed. As soon as I stopped watching trailers and heard about certain movies or just saw what was up on the AMC list, I don't own AMC. This is not a shill.
I know you have to clarify that now.
It just made the experience so much better. So, being this engaged in Pokemon, it's impossible to not see and talk and have expectations this high for something like this. So I'm looking forward to being disappointed. Uh, like that's just the name of the game. And yeah, I have that same exact feeling because I wasn't there for that lead up to Evolutions. I discovered Evolutions when it came. I was like, oh, like this is it. Like, wow, this is
Yeah.
awesome. Like, it was just perfect timing for me to get back in.
Yeah, and so for me, I think this is where you're really gonna, I talked about all those pillars of the community, whatever. I think you're really gonna see those divisions happen this year in terms of I think your true collectors, the ones that have just been in the hobby a long time, are probably just gonna enjoy anything, just something new, something refreshing, something different
hmm
than what the kind of the modern releases have been, right? Because we've gotten in this very like stagnant like release schedule of like 4 core sets a year, specialty set each year,
hmm
etc. Like let's do something different with our core sets. And that's kind of what the last set of every block used to be. The 12th set, your Call of Legends or your Evolutions or whatever, was always some kind of like more unique set that brought
Mm,
in something new and cool, legendary treasures.
okay.
Um, and this is not, right? This will be the 8th set of the block, which
Mm,
obviously they're adjusting because of 25th anniversary. And so to me, I think most people are going to appreciate it.
hmm
I think however, it's always going to be your vocal minority that you're going to hear the most.
Yeah.
And I think expectations are very high on this set because a lot of the conversation now derives around money.
Right.
And so no matter what they do, people are always going to think of a way that they could have done something even better than that to make them more money
Yeah.
or, to line their pockets and make it a more enjoyable experience. So I think if you derive your full experience and value in Pokemon out of like making money, I think this whole year will disappoint you. Not
Yeah.
because there won't be money to be made, but because it will never be as much money as you wanted it to make you.
hmm
But if your derivement out of Pokemon is just like, I love this thing and I enjoy this thing, I think this is just going to be another very exciting year where they do even more cool things above and beyond the amount they normally do in a year. And so I think it really comes down to inherently like what you derive out of the game itself.
hmm
And like for me, a lot of people are talking about Shining Fates just isn't going to be as good as Hidden Fates. It's terrible, blah, blah, blah. Like, but it's going to make us a bunch of money. So it's a good set. But like for me, Hidden Fates was fun, but it didn't really have like that card for me. It had a Jolteon, but it wasn't like a shiny,
Right.
so it just wasn't like cool, like as cool
They
for me.
had
But it was fun to
Umbreon,
open.
Glaceon, Espeon, Leafeon. None of
All
them.
of them except the starters,
Yeah.
yes, very aware. Like
They got their
the
nice
first three,
hollows.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And like even Eevee got a hollow, right?
And a
And
shiny.
Vaporeon also got a hollow. Jolteon gets a non-hollow. I don't even was Flareon even in the set? Poor Flareon fans, man.
I
That
think
feels
so.
bad.
I think he had a
Was it?
non-hollow. Maybe not.
I don't think it did. But anyways, um, but then Shining Fates comes along. And in Shining Fates, there's a Clobbopus.
Oh God.
This little guy. And I love this Pokemon so much. Shout out to Tim who sent me one.
Hey Tim.
I love this Pokemon so much. So the fact that I can open a booster pack and get a shiny Clobbopus, that to me is awesome. That to me will probably make Shining Fates rank higher than Hidden Fates strictly because there's something I can chase. Once I've obtained it, it doesn't matter because I got that moment in time. I got that chase and the reward of hitting it,
The
right?
moment in time. I like that.
Yeah,
I like
and
that.
so I got that moment, right? And that to me, when I compare it to any moment I got from Hidden Fates, it just won't be like my greatest moment in Hidden Fates was hitting a Charizard in a break on Facebook for somebody else. Mainly just because that person like really wanted it and I ripped it for them. I
hmm
obviously did not make any additional money off of that break.
hmm
And I think at the time packs were like $6 a piece. So it was like $24 or something. And I hit him a Charizard and I like freaked out because that was exciting for me to him. But like that was a super cool experience I had with him, but it wasn't like me chasing a card, right?
Right.
And so to me, Shining Fates is exciting because I've got something to chase now.
Yeah.
And so from like that's like the collector side of me. From the business side of me, I mean, it's apples to oranges, right? Like there's money to be made in any market. And so like I think that is like the bigger picture of 25th anniversary is kind of the the message that I'm going to start trying to spread is like this year is going to be as exciting or unexciting for you is whatever you want it to be.
Yeah.
However you want to align your expectations. But I think people need to be honest with themselves about why their
What they
expectations are what
want.
they are.
Yeah. Like for
Yeah.
me, for modern stuff, I don't buy from a distributor. I don't have that set up. If you've followed me over time, I do modern breaks when it comes out because I get it and I like to open it and rip it. Like with Hidden Fates, I I pulled 2 Charizards in like 15 packs just right off the get go. Like that's what I do with modern. It's fun. I like to open some, enjoy it a little bit, whether or not there's a card I chase or go after deeply for. I mean, I've been lucky, I guess. Champion's Path I gave up on. But that's the one thing that I'm worried about is access to really enough of it at a reasonable price. And like here, I always give people shit for like complaining about not getting things at a reasonable price. And here I am doing it because I want a case, maybe 2 cases to just open for myself of whatever this set's going to be. Shining Fates, I've pretty much given up on like looking for pre-orders or chasing because it's honestly taken the fun out of it for me at that point. So I hope I don't have that same experience with whatever the set comes up to be. Hopefully I get some Shining Fates to rip open and have fun. I mean, I did get to open Shiny Star V, which I guess maybe got my fix, but that's another thing
Well, and I
too.
think a lot of people are in your shoes, right? I just
Yeah.
ran a poll on YouTube and on like the community poll section, and I asked, is the shortage of supply kind of like taking the wind out of your sales for the 25th anniversary? And it got like 973 votes, and like 53% of them were just definitive yes.
Wow.
And you know, that to me was a lot higher of a number than I thought it would be.
Mm-hmm.
And part of that, I think, is because people came in 2020, product was not as hard to find, maybe on like current releases, like Vivid Voltage when it came out.
Mm-hmm.
But for the most part, you could still go to your Walmart, your Target, game store, wherever, and find sealed product. And they're still hungry. They're still fresh in, man. They're like fresh off the boat, just, want the experiences, and they got a little taste of it. And now they're just like waiting for more. And it's like losing their interest.
Mm-hmm.
And this is like one of those instances to bring it full circle and bring it back to like Pokemon and like the motives, caring about the secondary market. I think this is one where obviously printing any product makes you money, but you've got to be very strategic right now about what you're printing. Not as even much about the money as you very well risk losing a lot of these people and them just completely losing interest in finding their way out of the hobby altogether because they're not interested in playing these games or anything like that. You and I both love Pokemon, but right now I can't reasonably crack any sealed product just as like a fun thing to do in the evening to just open a tin because nothing I could pull justifies the cost of the item and going out and paying a high secondary market price. And it's not like I can just call up my distributor and be like, hey, I need more of this because they don't have it. So we found solace in other things. Like you've always liked Dragon Ball Z. I've always liked Naruto. But part of what gravitated me towards just like seeking out a card game that the product was cheaper was so we could open it. I mean, how many times have we just opened product at night on Discord, like with a group for something to do?
Well,
And
I'm opening the expensive stuff.
That's my fear for them is that they risk losing that group of people that will just find their interest somewhere else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, that was a lot of the response that I got from the burnout video we did. A lot of the modern, collectors, the new collectors they weren't burnt out of doing this. They were burnt out of chasing, just the nonstop chase to find Pokemon cards, whether it was to sell or to open or whatever. It was just the accessibility wasn't there. I mean, for me, it's I'm used to that chase. I'm looking for that one-off trophy card that pops up every couple months or never, or that once in a lifetime price point for a sealed vintage box. So like that part of the chase I enjoy and don't get burnt out on. But that's also not me running to a store, waiting in line, hoping to catch the stock shelf person, seeing someone slip them a 20 to give them all the stuff, which I have seen. And like that is demoralizing.
Yeah.
Absolutely demoralizing. It can absolutely burn people out so quick. When for me, I just feel like I have a fair fight online. Whoever sees it first sees it. Whoever's willing to pay pays. And it's a completely different world. But I feel bad for those that are just into it now and have been trying to make it a thing for themselves, for their friends, for their family, whatever it is. You know, flippers included. Like buying and selling Pokemon is a fun thing to do. But when it's like this, it's just tough.
Yeah.
Definitely tough. So.
Yeah, it's tough to enjoy the hobby as a whole, no matter what your goals are. We had talked about goals and kind of, where your interest lies. Right now, all three of those pillars are struggling under the weight of the, the floor that they're built on, which is Pokemon and accessibility. And I think that Snap 2, not to like really tangent us, because we have kind of a nice wrap up here, but I do think Snap 2 will help that. I think that's going to be a way that people can engage in Pokemon as a whole, and be able to share in their experiences with each other and everything, that there isn't any expectation of value or any expectation of making money on it or anything like that, unless you're investing in the sealed games. But like that, for the most part though, that it'll kind of reinvigorate people into just enjoying Pokemon.
Yeah.
And so I'm very excited to obviously for Shining Fates to come, but I do think we're going to have a lot of frustration. I'm excited for battle styles to come. I hope there will be less frustration, but we haven't really heard on if there will be an allocation yet or not. But I think that transition into then April from battle styles in March will kind of alleviate some of that frustration, because Snap 2 will be widely accessible, widely available, YouTube videos, Twitch videos, everything, to where people can just enjoy in the franchise together, which I think is really just what the 25th anniversary needs as a whole. And kind of on the last one, we talked about the Super Bowl commercial. I think that's why I want to see it the most. I just want to see something that everyone can partake in right now, regardless of your finances, that can just get people excited to be a part of the 25th anniversary. And so far for this year, we have not had anything like that yet.
Yeah. I need to pre-order Snap. I forgot to do that.
Yes, you do.
But let's do our blips and bleps, huh?
Our blips and bleps. All right. I've got a good one today.
I've got one that you've touched on quite a few times here today. So I'm just going to start with that one. Delivery Pikachu is going to be reprinted.
That's interesting because it actually ties to one of mine.
Use that one right now.
I think this little series they were doing, the Eevee on the ball, Grookey on the ball, Sobble, Score Bunny, Pikachu on the ball, I think they may just cancel that, and I think they may just cancel Special Delivery Charizard as well. Like, I don't know. I don't think I'm not convinced we're ever gonna see those. I hope I'm wrong, but I'm not convinced.
We're talking too much for our blips and bleps, but keeping on path with promos. Starry Night Legendary Bird promos will be the next art collaboration.
Starry Night?
Vincent Van Gogh. Yeah, Van Gogh.
Okay.
Legendary birds flying in the night sky. Ho-Oh, Lugia, Zapdos, Moltres. Oh.
We're talking too much for our blips and bleps. Well, at first I thought you were talking about the stained glass birds, and I was like, I don't think that's what they're called, but maybe he doesn't know. Anyways, for my second blep, I think that YouTube Shorts are going to be the next big thing.
I love YouTube Shorts. Remember Claymations?
I just made my first one.
You did?
By the way, total side note, I did.
Thanks for the invite,
I'm
dude.
trying it. I'm just gonna try different things and see kind of which ones take off. But apparently, it takes like, okay, we're tangenting here real quick. I know we're not supposed to talk. No, we don't talk about them.
I'll happily be a guest in your. Actually, when I come visit you, I want to be in one. Okay. Where's my last one? Here we go. You will find Hanada in 2021.
Oh, okay. You should probably explain what that means.
Nope. Blip or blip. If they want to know, we can talk about it later.
I don't even know what the blip means.
If they want to know, they can comment. Also, subscribe, subscribe, hit that bell button, follow Squeaks on Instagram.
My last one.
I know. Go ahead.
You're cutting out. All right, man. So my last one is going to be with the announced live action TV show, as well as the new mobile game and the new console game that is coming. I think yes, swish and click. Yes, I think Harry Potter. Oh, and the record book sale. I think Harry Potter memorabilia, merchandise, items, whatever, are very poised to have a very, very strong few years coming up.
Harry Potter and his Sorcerer's Stone.
I hate you so much.
It's Leviosa.
And this was the last episode of Collectible Conversations we will ever.
Hey,
Stop.
Thanks guys for watching our 12th episode of Collectible Conversations. Please like, subscribe, and follow Squeaks Game World on Instagram. Do it.
And unsubscribe from Radar for his terrible impersonation.
Or
don't actually do that.
Follow Potter Radar. I'm making a new Instagram for Harry Potter.
You should start making shorts like that.
I think we could do very well on shorts. I like that idea, and I'm gonna steal it from you. All right.
I stole it from Pat Flynn, then ask if he could use the short I made as an idea. So we're all just sharing. We're a community. Yeah. That's why we help each other out to grow. It's cool. So
grow
just
together,
make a short.
Love together, collect Pokemon together.
All right, stop. Okay, we are out of here.
It's 2:30 a.m. See ya.